All right, welcome to the live stream, everybody. Today I have Raphael with me as CM Alerts. We're going to be doing some charting, long-term analysis, going over the current events with the whole war in Iran, along with just a few other things that are going on throughout the world that are nice and spicy on this fine Tuesday afternoon. Raphael, welcome.
What's going on?
So, just a brief overlook on the overall market. We gapped down pretty heavily this morning. Both SPY and Qs were down over, I think it was over 2% at one point, well over 2% at one point. And we've seen a nice rebound so far. Qs are back up to 600. I think SPY, SPX is back up to, what is it, testing 6,800 right now?
I did try to test 6,800. It rejected pretty hard, which I think I called out. I never took a trade off of that. I just wasn't seeing enough confluence with the VIX. But clearly that was the right idea, was to short up at 6,800. So we got to 67.98 roughly. So, I mean, plus or minus 5 points for any level on SPX is kind of my mantra.
There's a few other really beaten down ones today. Tesla's the big one that I was watching earlier this morning. Tesla was down 4% at one point. I think it may have even been down a little further than that. Let's see what else. NVIDIA wasn't down as much. Let's see. Yeah, NVIDIA fell down to 177. Not too bad for NVIDIA today. I would have expected much worse with the indexes being down with as much as they were down already. AMD also having a bad day, down 4%. The one that is green today is Pinterest, and I believe it was off of news for a, it was a buyback. Launched a $1 billion share buyback. So that's the only reason why Pins is green today. Metals have taken a really hard hit so far this morning. Let me see. Silver's back up to 82. Had a drop down to 79. But we're back up. It's still down 7% on the day, which is pretty nasty in my opinion. Gold, I think, is also down pretty heavily, and so is aluminum. Background music. It should be off. What do I see TSL doing today? So I already took a trim for 20% on these. I really want to see back above $14. That's the big point we need to cross. If we can get back above $14 before the end of the day, probably a good idea to just continue going long back up to 1480. I do think Tesla will recover pretty quickly. Can I give an update on current positions? I still have CVS, obviously. CVS puts a little better today. It's down almost 2%. EPD, I closed EPD at break even, but it is back up today if some of you didn't get a chance to trim some of that. The other one is NU. I'm still in my NU calls. That it did take a bit of a hit, but those are for March 20th, so I can afford some wiggle room here. So I'm still in the NU calls. Pen, obviously, pen calls are still green for me, very slightly. I just put those to break even. UNG is up over 60% for us right now. Those are doing pretty well. Natural gas up 5% on the day right now. FCell, I still have some FCell calls. FCell took a bit of a hit today. Let me go to the FCell chart. Took a bit of a hit, but it tends to have these really wild moves. So I'm hoping for a recovery either into close today or tomorrow, a really strong bounce. All we really need is one solid day like we had last week. I mean, last week we had that one day where it moved up from $7.50 all the way up to $9. So I'm expecting another big move by FCell this week on one of the days. NU, yeah, I mean, going back to NU, I have till March 20th on these, so I still have what 1, 2, 3 weeks. So I have no problem with holding this a little longer. Rafael, do you want to update on your positions?
Yeah, so as I alerted in Deep Insights, I recently got into a defense company called Voyager. Um, with everything going on in the Middle East right now, I think defensive stocks, the whole military sector, is a good bet right now, and I foresee Voyager doing pretty well. They're a very diversified company from my limited research that I've done thus far. But they're in multiple different areas. I know they're in missile defense, which I don't know if you guys have been watching the news. I'm guessing you have, but there's been a ton of missiles being used. So the government's going to be looking for contractors to resupply them. Raytheon's a good pick as well. But Voyager, I really like just because it's a growth company rather than picking Raytheon, which is already a premier defense contractor. It's a very, very established company. I just don't see as much growth there. But that's just more my style. I really prefer going for these really high risk, high reward type plays, especially long term, since I'm young and have the opportunities to take some losses. The other one is Ondas, which I alerted that I bought some more today. Yesterday I haven't updated my chart in a while, as you can see, but yesterday we were up 20%. Of the entire drone sector was up until there was a analyst firm yesterday that decided to downgrade this company called AVAV, and as you can see, gigantic red candle that dragged the entire drone sector down along with it. So it's nothing that Ondas did. In fact, they actually made a strategic investment yesterday into, what was the company called? Worldview Investments. Where is it? Yeah, Worldview. So they're getting into counterintelligence now, which is a completely different sector rather than counter drones and suicide drones that they also have invested in recently. But this is a completely new revenue stream. It's a small investment, $10 million, but it's just going to continue to add to their portfolio of defense opportunities, I guess. So long term, extremely bullish on Ondas. Unfortunately, it is a retail name right now. I think I've mentioned it before. My first buy-in was at $2.10 back in August. So I've been in this stock for a long time before Wall Street Bets and everybody else got a hold of it. So I have very, very high conviction on this name. So those are the two that I'm most heavily focused on right now, outside of day trading.
Yeah, and I think somebody asked why silver and gold are down today. The reason being is because the dollar actually strengthened, and the I don't know. There's been a surge in the dollar and higher bond yields with the whole Middle East conflict going on. So it's a buying opportunity in my opinion. I still think silver and gold at some point this year will make a new all-time high at some point this year. So that's the only reason why. I think SLV, I posted it earlier today. SLV is sitting at, I think, 75 right now. Probably I would wait till, I said I wanted to wait till this got into the low 60s. So still a decent amount to go down. Another probably 15% move or so to the downside, which isn't unheard of for silver. Silver has wild moves. So if we check the actual silver futures, I think it's a move to like the lower 70s. Yeah, that I would want before I pick up a new position here. Plug. Let me take a look at Plug. Oops. Plugs had it is one of the few tickers that are green today, but if you look at the overall longer term, on the daily, it has been struggling a little bit. It's been more choppy. The reason why I haven't taken any plays on this one recently is because, number one, it used to be a favorite of mine. I used to love playing Plug, and those of you who followed me from a long time ago, back when I was just a beginning analyst, I think this was like a good 4 years ago, before I even had this Discord. Plug was one of my favorite to play constantly, and recently it's just been super choppy. You can see we're hanging out around the 50 EMA, obviously right here. Take out these pivots. And we're above the 50 EMA, above the 200 with today's candle. Really nice move. 3% is a lot considering how choppy this one has been recently. Do I think this can climb all the way back up to 450 in the near future? No. Is there a rise in volume here? Yeah. Could it potentially cross 450 at some point this year, maybe way later this year? Maybe, if the overall market has a really bullish move up. But I would expect Plug just to continue chopping, honestly. I think unless there's some, deal that they can make with Tesla or some other, electric car company, I don't think Plug's really going anywhere. Even the earnings you see here last quarter was absolutely abysmal. So not too or sorry, Plug's up 25%. I don't know why I said 3%. But I mean, it could just be another opportunity for shorts to get in and push us down to another low. I mean, the lowest possible is like 67, 66 cents or something. So, I think it'll just head right back down unless they can come up with a deal somewhere. The other one is SoFi. Let me take a look at SoFi. SoFi Technologies. This is a big talk right now on X. I made a post about it yesterday. It had that Head and Shoulders that I posted back in December. And that Head and Shoulders did actually play out. I actually charted this. If you look back at my post, I charted this back in December. I made that final shoulder, and we dropped right from 30 all the way down to $17. The question I have now, and actually, I don't know why that support wasn't drawn out. The question I have now with this company is, can they? I feel like. Where did I read it? Yeah, MasterCard to enable SoFi stablecoin settlement across global payment networks. This is a good start. I know the CEO just bought more as well. So, obviously, the last couple of days have been really nice. Yesterday had like a 10% day. So, what isn't good here on this chart is you have the 50 EMA and the 200 are here crossing. And that's not a good sign at all. On the upside, you do have this nice support here and the MACD crossing up with it already being so oversold. The last time it never has been this oversold on the MACD. So if you're a bull here and you want to take advantage of possibly starting a position here, the two things to watch is you need to see if this MACD crossover does continue to the upside, and we need to see a break back up to the 200 EMA. So around 22, 2260, 2250. By the time we get back up there, it'll be 22. Do I think SoFi is a good buy right now? Not yet. I wouldn't be a buyer until $15. I've been saying that for a while. I wouldn't add any of this until 15. Could this be the low, and could it bounce and head back up to 30? Absolutely, it could. Do I see that happening before it hits 15? No, not personally. I think it's on a decent downward path that needs to finish playing out. Yes, it's a positive thing that the CEO did buy more shares, but I think it's a little further down to go. Let me see. Yeah, and if you guys have any other tickers that you want us to look over, just type it in the chat. Let me take a look back at the indexes. Ooh. So this goes all the way back to, let me delete these support. That way I can give you guys a clear picture here, exactly what I'm about to say. So from late January, we had that breakdown from this rising wedge, right? And I explained to you all that a rising wedge is obviously a bearish pattern. We dropped, right? Reclaimed the 50, tested the top of that wedge again, and then fell right back through again. So now what I would expect is possibly going into tomorrow. Now there could be some, this is what makes this really tough, is with the war going on in the Middle East right now, anything could dump, pump, chop, it could do anything to the market right now. So TA is a bit tough under these circumstances, right? What I would expect from a chart perspective is we had that break from the rising wedge, right? And what would make sense is if we then fell and tested the 200 here, right? That would take us to like the high 580s, right? We came really close. We were already at what, 591 this morning, 592. But I would expect a perfect bounce off the 200, right? And the last time we got anywhere near the 200 was way back in May, earlier last year, right? With the whole April drop. Before that, you can see the last time we tested it was August of 2024. The last time we tested that again was in October 2023. And you have the crossover here from the whole 2022 bear market. So you can see that the pattern here is that we continuously bounce from the 200, right? That's why it's one of the most common, EMAs to use on the daily chart. April's an exception because of the whole doomsday tariff, liberation day stuff. So that was a bit tough right here. But if, let's say, we return back to normal market conditions and with the whole war, let's say that the bears are going to drag this down to the 200, it would also make sense because it would also be the lower end, the lower candle of that, the beginning of the rising wedge. So would absolutely make sense to drop to the 200. And then as much as everybody's going to hate me and probably disagree with me, I still think we hit all-time highs later this year, right? Yes, the market, the economy on the outside looks fantastic. On the inside, it is not fantastic. And there will be a crash to come, but not before we have another leg up, in my opinion. Rafael, anything you want to add to that?
Sorry, I was managing a trade. What was the topic of discussion there?
I'm just going over the indexes in general and their general movement on the daily.
Oh, yeah. I mean, right now, I'm sure you guys have seen all sorts of charts on X, but I mean, for the past, 3 months, we've just been chopping. So if you've just bought the indexes, you really haven't gone anywhere. Swing traders have made an absolute fortune, but at some point, we're going to get a move. I think that the first move is going to be fake. So if we break above resistance here at SPX 7K, I think it's going to bait a lot of people into buying, and then we're just going to flush right back down. Same goes for the reverse. If we break through 6,700 on SPX, a lot of people are going to go short and get wrecked when we slam back up to the upside. So I think first move is going to be fake, but that being said, I think absent this whole Iran conflict, it's in Trump's best interest to keep the markets afloat, whether that's through quantitative easing or any of the other tools that the Federal Reserve has, because, I mean, that's been his whole, talking point is the stock market, how well the stock market does. With midterms coming up, it's in his best interest, like I said, just to keep the markets afloat or ideally green. so that he has bragging talking points for the Republicans when it comes time for midterms in November. So, assuming that this conflict clears up relatively quickly, I would expect that we do make all-time highs relatively soon. But I'm still looking first for a flush to the downside below 6,700 SPX, and that would be a good dip to buy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, like I said, we will hit a new high, but it'll probably be the like finale of this current bull market before we do see a large crash. So yeah, but yeah, he's right. It's been absolutely choppy, really bad. But you know, there's lots of other names out there that have had some really nice swings recently. If you would have stayed away from tech. Now, when I say like tech in general, I'm talking about like playing NVIDIA, right? Look at NVIDIA, an absolutely awful chart, right? Take a look at Tesla. Yes, there's some really good Tesla scalpers out there, but hey, that's a really choppy Tesla chart, right? AMD, also really choppy. I think Meta is an exception. Meta has actually had some really nice swings recently, but it's also beginning to form that head and shoulders pattern that I was talking about. So Meta could be showing signs of, another leg down, and it has that really large trend line support that goes all the way back to 2022. So we'll see how Meta plays out. But the overall market is still considerably choppy, right? Let me chart out CGTL. Let me take a look here. So this is sitting at 169 right now. It had a nice move earlier this year, obviously. Went all the way up to 640, actually. I'm not going to lie, I've never heard of this company.
Which company is this?
Creative Global Technology Holdings, CGTL.
Let me take a gander at this.
It's a penny stock, but you can see here how it actually ran into it twice and pulled off a double top. Well, technically this is a triple top. It was 650. I don't know. That's in a pretty strong momentum down, and volume doesn't look too happy here either. Let me look at the overall. Nah, I'd stay away from this one, personally.
The brown guy 777 Beyond Meat, I would not touch that with a 10-foot pole. Besides the company just being absolutely terrible, I mean, realistically, who's eating fake meat? This company is literally doing everything in its power to just survive right now.
Are you telling me you never eat fake meat?
Yeah, I'm not trying to estrogen max, But yeah, I know that on social media there's been some chatter about a short squeeze, but I mean, ever since GameStop, retail traders have just constantly been looking for the next great short squeeze. They did it with Bed Bath & Beyond, which I got wrecked on, actually. That was when I was kind of new to trading. I got absolutely wrecked on Bed Bath & Beyond. So just be very, very careful about anybody claiming that something is going to short squeeze, because 9 times out of 10 it's just not. You're just going to lose everything.
By the time you hear about it, usually it's too late. Usually. More often than not, right? And why is that? Because you are the exit liquidity. If you're hearing about it, it's because somebody wants you to hear about it, and they want you to be their exit liquidity. So, short squeezes, always really risky, right? McDonald's CEO was acting like that burger was not meat. Yeah, I have questions about McDonald's burgers. I don't know if that meat really is authentic. I mean, there's even like the whole Taco Bell thing where I think it's actually horse meat or something.
Oh yeah, those Taco Bell, what are they called? The chicken nuggets or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely raccoon meat, like 100%.
But the protein in them is absolutely insane. So
gym hack right there. Yeah, just
Literally,
go.
and bulking right there. Perfect. Wolf.
Oh yeah, and then something else I wanted to mention real quick. I don't know if you guys know about VIX structure, but right now I believe I haven't checked today, but I've been seeing some stuff online that we're actually in backwardation right now. So essentially, what that means is the VIX operates on a curve through different expirations at different months, and so what backwardation essentially means is that in the short term, traders are expecting much higher volatility than in the long run, and usually that's bearish for markets. So what you want to see is that the VIX is priced lowest for the near term and highest toward the longer term. So traders are essentially betting that the short term is going to be less volatile than in the long term, and that typically favors more trend rather than just chop or a black swan event where the market's just crater. So just size light right now until the VIX structure goes back into contango is what it's called, is the official term.
Okay, let me take a look at Wolf. Somebody asked. It had that potential breakout. I actually had calls on this first initial move here before it decided that it wanted to continue chopping. So that is what we continue to do. We continue to chop, and the level to break is 16, right? 1620, I think, is the level. If that doesn't break, and we can't break it with good volume, we're not going to go anywhere for now. We may retest this trend line again, but I think if we did fall below it, it's for sure going to drop at least to the 200 here. So like back to 1150 possibly. Let me make sure I get all of you guys' charts here. Dell. Dell Technologies. Dell's down 8% today, and that would look horrible if you just looked at it from today and not in the past week, right? Because we're actually up a very large amount over the past week. It had a nice 26% move up and then came back down. The problem here is I think we need to fill this gap. So while earnings were pretty good, we do need to fill the gap here, right? So that's another 12% down. If the market continues dropping, Dell will continue dropping with it, and we will eventually fill that gap. So it would be a good, well, I do think Dell, I think I mentioned this already, I think Dell can reach a new high later this year, early next year, right? Because that was a pretty large move for earnings, right? It typically doesn't have moves that big. So there's a good chance that it'll go back to slower movement, right? It'll try to fill that gap and then eventually come up and make an all-time high. That's my thoughts on Dell. Let me take a look at, I want to go back to Tesla real quick. Tesla is, the problem with Tesla right now, from like a overall company view, right? Teslas are the most produced cars in the world right now, right? However, they are not the most bought cars, right? Not everyone's buying a Tesla as much as Elon Musk would want that. So what does that mean? There's a bunch of Tesla cars just sitting around, right? And they're beginning to go for pretty cheap. So the issue with Tesla here is they're overproducing, right? I would love if people would buy Tesla cars and, continue helping this company improve. But he's building a lot of Tesla vehicles, and the demand really isn't there. The money isn't really there. People don't have money to just go and spend money on a new Tesla car, right? From the daily, we got some other issues, right? We're sitting at the 200 EMA here. We're actually below it. and the 50 EMA is coming down, and we're losing pretty much a lot of our support that could take us all the way down to like 350. So that whole like choppy range that I talked about for, it's been months, I think. Yeah, since October is when I first started mentioning it back here. It hasn't gone anywhere, right? It did make an all-time high, almost at 500. I think it actually did hit 500 in the pre-market on, I think it was this day, December 22nd. But right now, Tesla's not looking so good overall, right? I think they could have a bounce here from the 200 and climb back up above 400, but I'm thinking more like long term. I'm thinking more like going into the end of this year, beginning of next year, like a full year out from now. I don't know if Tesla makes a new high this year, honestly. It would be awesome if it did. We need to see some major news, something big from Elon. But earnings have been really mixed over the past couple of years. And I'm beginning to think it's one of the most overhyped stocks out there. I don't know how you feel, Rafael, but
Which stock is this?
Tesla, I'm beginning to think it's an overhyped stock, in my opinion.
Well, the deal with Tesla is that Elon Musk is just constantly changing the strategic goals of the company. I mean, back in like the late 2010s, he was talking about the Tesla Roadster. I have yet to see a Tesla Roadster on the road. And now his new focus is to get a Optimus robot into every household, which, I mean, it's a bold claim. If that were to happen, if robots are able to be mass produced and they're actually affordable, then that would pay off huge. But right now, and I know Tesla recently, they cut a couple of their cars out of their line, so they're really trying to pivot away from being an auto manufacturer into something else entirely. And then with SpaceX also IPOing this year, I think I saw something on X, I don't know if it's true or not, that Elon Musk was considering merging XAI, SpaceX, and Tesla. So I mean,
Which would be huge.
yeah, I mean, who knows at this point what Elon Musk is going to do, but if you're buying Tesla, you're not buying it because it's a car company. You're buying it because you trust in Elon Musk's vision for what the company will be, whatever that is, because, I mean, he changes it every earnings call.
And I think people are beginning to realize that Tesla is more than a car company, right? Over the course of the last, 4 years since 2020, Tesla's really been, touching on all kinds of different technologies. We went with FSD, and then we went to, now we got, robotaxis. We got, C3POs for the house now. So it's kind of just all over the place right now. I feel like Elon has this all over the place, and I'm not getting discredit to Elon. I think he's a smart guy. He has come up with crazy, inventions. Things that we didn't think would be possible are now possible due to his inventions. But you have to understand that as a company, when people want to invest in the company, there needs to be a solid vision, right? There has to be a solid vision for the company. And in Tesla's case, I think they have yet, while they are pivoting away from being a car company, they have yet to really establish an identity on what exactly the company will be headed in the future. Now, if he does merge his companies, there could be, it'll do one of two things. It'll either bring a bunch of extra confusion on what exactly the company is, or, there will be a defined, segments of the company that everybody can, fully understand. Oh, I'm invested in Tesla because of this, division that focuses on C3POs for your home. Or I am invested in Tesla because of, the rockets, that they're building for Mars. You know, it's all like, I feel like if maybe they did merge the companies, there would be a better vision. Tesla right now itself, I just find it a bit confusing. I know there's a lot of people out there, actually probably the majority of people out there will disagree with me when I say it, but Tesla needs to find its identity right now. I think Elon has yet to establish exactly what Tesla is now that we've moved forward from it being just a car company. That's my opinions on Tesla. Thank you. And of course, from a charting perspective, that takes us to TSLL, which follows, it's the directional daily, 2 times shares for Tesla stock. And, you know, these are built to slowly deteriorate over time. So I wouldn't like buy this and hold it long term. But these could be good in the future, possibly after the SpaceX IPO. So we'll see. Let's take a look at NVIDIA now, because NVIDIA has actually been, as much as NVIDIA is also hyped, it's also been a pain since about summer of last year, right? There was that fantastic buying opportunity in April with the whole tariffs and Liberation Day. But ever since last summer, it's been just nothing but a horrendous chop. And we'll continue chopping as long as we're in this opening or in this range here, right? The all-time high, I thought we would head, especially over the last earnings, I thought that would definitely be the thing that takes us to all-time highs, but turns out it was priced in, as most earnings already are. So we did get back up to 200, and now we're sitting back at 180, right? After we fell back to the low 170s. I mean, I still believe in NVIDIA. The US believes in NVIDIA. As we enter in the AI digital age, NVIDIA is going to be crucial. We're going to have to continue using their chips and almost everything. NVIDIA is not going anywhere. I still think it's a solid investment. The question is when to get in. That's my question. Yeah. Taking a look at Meta, because now that we're just looking over at tech stocks, Meta's been kind of choppy recently. The thing with Meta that has made it different than the other tech companies is the swings on this have been really nice. You can actually do some pretty good swings on Meta. The movement is really nice here, right? But from just a longer, looking out a bit further, you do have that head and shoulders now. And we just have to be really careful if we fell below this trendline support, right? Because this trendline support goes all the way back to 2022. That's literally the bottom of the 2022 bear market. So if we hold here and then we can break back above 750, then that head and shoulders is completely invalidated, and we climb to all-time highs again this year. But that would require a pretty strong bullish market. Got in SpaceX pre-IPO about 2 years ago. Yeah, I bet it's been good, especially if you got in 2 years ago. Let's look at some other. So one that I did play last week and kind of been eyeing for another entry this week is KMI, right? KMI has obviously oil and gas pipelines company, right? Industrial services. It's been on a really nice upwards movement, especially after its really good earnings earlier. I think it was in January. Yep, earlier in January. So this year alone, it's up over 25%, right? And honestly, I don't think there's anything that's stopping it for now. There's a good chance that we could then send this into the high 30s. The high 30s could be next here for KMI. It'll max out around 40. I don't think it'll get above 40 this year. But there is a really good chance that we can head up to the high 30s here, and especially playing into the current momentum has been really strong. Did you manage my question on shares? I'm sorry. Let me go back and look. How do you play share? How do you play shares? Do you run stop loss with entries because those are penny stocks? Yeah. So if you're playing a penny stock, I think that's the question here. If you're playing a penny stock, what was that penny stock somebody mentioned earlier? I'll use that as an example. Actually, I can just say it over voice. When you enter penny stocks, right? You typically, what I do is when I enter on the momentum, right? So about, I don't know, it's a good 80% of the time, right? 85% of the time that I'm correct in catching the momentum, right? So it continues going up. You catch the shares, and what you would typically do is, at least what I do for shares, is once I'm up 10% on shares, like a penny stock, I immediately place that stop loss to break even, right? If I'm wrong and it goes below break even, there's a good chance that it'll dip even further and provide another opportunity for an entry, right? So once we're up 10%, I'll either, decide whether I'm going to trim, maybe wait for 15% and trim, but anything over 10%, the stop loss always goes to break even, right? If I'm playing options, I wait for 20% trim, right? I take a 20% trim and place the stop loss to break even, right? I'm big on placing my stop loss to break even after being in profit, because I've been wrecked way too many times by being up 20, 30% and continuing to hold a good large portion and then just not placing my stop loss to break even, thinking that the trend will continue no matter what, even if it does take a dip, and then I end up being wrong. So better to be safe than sorry. That's the whole thing here. Better to be safe than sorry. Like the shares I alerted this morning. Yeah, so the shares I alerted this morning, those would be, it's the same idea. Once they go in profit, I will place the stop loss at break even once I'm up like 10%, right? It took I think it was MDCX. Took MDCX at 160, 155 this morning. So, I mean, we're not up 10% yet, but if we get that next leg up to 180, like I was talking about, then that will easily be 10% right there, right, from current price. So I'll probably then, like, that's why I said I wanted 180, because that would be the first point that I would consider trimming after entry at like 155 this morning. So, I mean, we're already up. I'm already slightly up like 4% right now. So not really worth trimming for me yet. You trim most at 20%, more than 75%? No, I trim about 1/3 to 2/3 of my position depending on the movement. So on like a Qs play, I like to trim 1/3 at 20 to 30%. The problem with Qs, zero DTEs, and you guys already know this, is they move so quick that sometimes my trim, if I'm like trying to trim at 20 and I'm like catching into the trend, the trim will actually end up being at like 40%, right? I mean, yesterday's play on Qs, I think I entered at, let me look exactly back in the orders. I entered, right? And then it was about 15 minutes later, the calls were already up 200%, right? That was my first trim was at 200%. So sometimes if you catch the momentum right, the trim is going to be more than 20%, right? But the whole goal is to place, the big goal is placing that stop loss at break even, right? But no, I'm not trimming more than 75% of my position at 20%. Sometimes it'll be half, but I go a little lower than half. It's usually around 1/3. 1/3 of my position at 20%. And by the time we reach, 75%, I have 1/3 of my position, if that, and then anything over 100% is always runners. Always runners over 100%. Looking at AMD. Yeah, I can check out AMD. AMD daily is kind of the same thing as NVIDIA. I think I deleted the support and resistance on this one because I was testing it for something else. But we're testing the 200 here on AMD, right? AMD, I do like the company. Same story as NVIDIA here, right? I like the company a lot. But it's kind of having like the same issues as NVIDIA, right? So if you look at the bottom of this range here, it's been chopping. It's going along with the rest of, you know, the problems we've been having in tech. Do I think it drops to 170? So I'm assuming what you're looking at, which is totally correct, by the way, would be to fill this gap down here, right? At 170. And yeah, that's totally reasonable to assume if we lose the 200. Yeah, we could very easily hit 170 within the next month, within the next couple months. I would even say that if it drops at 170 with momentum, I would expect the drop to continue down to 150 right here at this support. So there's this whole range right here that I think if it loses the 200, it could very easily continue down to 150. That would be in the event of the market finding a temporary top and a much larger pullback on the indexes, which is reasonable. So yeah, it's safe to assume that if we lose the 200, it goes to 150 is actually what I would have. You have leaps. Oh. Yeah, if you have a leaps short position, I think you're positioned on the right side for now. It would probably be, you'd probably want to start considering closing if we came back up here to the 50 and broke the 50, right? But I think you're positioned on the right side for now. We're below that range, and we're testing the 200. We're actually below the 200, so you know it's not that. You have a July 27 180. Oh, 180 call. Yeah, I mean, so if you are in calls, I would just be careful because if we do continue down, if it does get down to 170, there's two spots. So if you want to hang on to that leap, there's two spots that you would, you know, want to add potentially. One would be the gap fill at 170. The second would be 150, right? So but yeah, it's more of a waiting game here. So I think I want to see what it does around the 200, right? Probably won't be able to get a play into the indexes today. I kind of want to stay away. You guys all saw the volatility that I posted in the chat earlier this morning. The volatility, the IV is really high right now. So the con values are obviously way too expensive in my opinion. Sold a March 2020 call against it to get some premium. Yeah, that's smart. That's pretty much free money too, because I don't think we're getting anywhere up to 220. Let me go back. I mean, the only chance we would get above 220 is if like this war comes to a much quicker end and there's some kind of deal struck really quickly. So we'll see though. We'll see how that one plays out. Let's look at some other green ones in my list. Pins, obviously explained to you why Pins is green today. Pins finally filled that gap that it left behind. Pins will continue dropping, honestly. I think it's got a bit further down to go, possibly retest $10 eventually. Did you enter a trade?
Yeah, I did. I'm in spy calls right now.
Sorry, I've been talking the whole time. If you want to say anything.
Oh no, I've been
my bad.
I've just been in the VIP chat room.
I've been going and going. I don't know how to stop.
But yeah, if you guys are in this trade with me, like I said, I'm still in. It's a lotto, as 0DTs always are, and I assume that this third test would in fact break. Obviously, on SPX 6800 is huge in terms of a technical standpoint. It was the low of day yesterday, as well as it's a key psychological number. I mean, it's a nice even 100. So 6800 is going to be a tough nut to crack, but if we do, we're going to get a gamma squeeze through that level. So that's kind of my thesis right now, as well as the VIX is still below the key level that I have drawn out here at 2450. I like to see a gap fill all the way down to 2152. We'll see if that happens. But for now, yep, still in this SPY trade, looking for upside.
It's also good too because if you look at SPX here, if you look at SPX, there's a we're still outside the opening range. So let's take a look at actual SPY. SPY is also sitting right above that opening range as well. So this could be a good shot here, honestly. Do you maintain a long-term portfolio? Which probably yes, if you do, it would be good to share with us. Yeah, I do have a long-term portfolio. Everyone knows, at least everyone should know by now, by as much as I talk about it. My largest position is FCX, right? I hold a very large amount of FCX stock. I really trust in the copper industry, and being in Arizona, I am very pro copper. I am in the copper state, so, and Freeport is also headquartered here in Arizona. So I've been holding Freeport for a long time. I have a very good average on this. I'm nearly up 100% of my entire position. So this is I like FCX along with some other mining companies. I hold a decent amount of Alcoa as well. Alcoa Corporation, which focuses on more aluminum. I do think they're also headed for another leg up potentially. You can see here, possible cup and handle forming. There's another company that I have a really good average on as well. So Alcoa and FCX are my two largest holdings. Those are pretty much free money too for selling options. It's pretty much a free income on those. Yeah, the FCX move has been really strong recently. Last year was actually, end of last year was really good, along with all the metals in general, silver, aluminum, gold, copper. They've all had a really nice move up over the last few months, and I don't think it's stopped yet. Copper is really holding up really nicely, while gold and silver are dropping. So, yeah, it's also worth noting too that I'm not sure exactly how much is used, but there's silver and gold used in warheads, right, in the rockets. So that's something you have to consider if we do go in a much longer war in the Middle East, and companies like Raytheon continue to build more rockets, there will be a larger demand for gold and silver. So I'm not sure how many of you knew that, and maybe I'm just one of the last people on the planet to have learned that only a few months ago, but gold and silver are used in warheads. So I thought that was interesting. Let me look for some possible entries. I wanted to enter a couple longer term plays today. Let me check how the indexes are doing. Let's see.
Congrats if you held through that little SPY dip there. should be green.
Yeah, both indexes are outside the opening range, so you have to lean to the bullish side technically.
Yeah, so if you guys are in the SPY calls right now, just be careful. Obviously, we did break above 6,800 very, very briefly on SPX, and we're sitting right below it right now. There's still a possibility that we do explode higher, but the initial reaction was a liquidity sweep. We got some buyers trapped right above 6,800 as they were waiting on that breakout, and price immediately reversed. Right now, buyers are still trying to accumulate, which is why we're not just absolutely dumping. But just be careful for now. Microsoft 370. Take a look at Microsoft here. Oh, you want Microsoft at 370. Interesting. Zeta. I saw something on X about that. I know they had earnings recently and they tanked. Yeah, but we're green now. This is not a name that I track, so I'm unfamiliar with the company. What is it? It is software. Lovely. My issue with software is the whole AI disruption that's potentially going on. I used to be in Path UI, which I did make money on. I believe I got in somewhere around here. But the whole AI revolution that's going on, especially with the rise of these companies, Anthropic. I mean, who knows the necessity of some of these companies, these packaged software companies in the future? Datadog, Path, Zeta. Like who knows what's realistically going to happen? So it's very, very speculative, obviously. But if it turns out that AI really can't 100% replicate what these companies are already doing, or their customers really want real people to talk to and interact with all their service issues, then software names are probably oversold right now, if that's your thesis. So there's different angles that you can play that, for sure.
Okay, I'm back. Still chopping.
SPX is now above 6,800. We'll see if that can hold.
Let's see. Ooh, NEM's down 8%. And it's testing the 50. Well, I'm gonna get some NEM calls. Probably gonna take a shot at some NEM calls here. It's at 131 was the high. 31. Let's see if we take a March. Actually, probably go a little further out. Probably like an April 2nd call. Let's see what these 135s are sitting at. I'm gonna take a stab at some NEM 135 calls. They're kind of expensive, but it's for April 2nd. See if I can get filled here. So let's say we go for some NEM. If my phone will load. Wow. Okay, phone isn't loading. All right, so some new April 2nd, 135 call. Sitting at around, it says 288. I'm gonna see what I can get filled at right now. See if we can get filled at 270. Nope, can't get filled at 270. Let's try 280. Okay, got filled one at 280. So we can get filled one at 275. This is the 135 call, by the way. We got filled one at 270. So I can get filled one at 260. And I got filled at 260. Okay, so looks like the price could be around 2.55. Let's see. So it looks like 260. So you can get filled at 260 on these. CVS. I'm not holding NLC. I'm not holding NCLH or EPD anymore. Both hit stop loss at break even. I am holding CVS though. So let me alert this real quick.
Real quick, I just want to point out on SPY, if you go to the 4-hour chart, there's just an absolutely monstrous doji candle, bullish hammer that printed, went through my level that I said to buy from, and I never took that trade, as I mentioned, but I think some of you guys did in the Discord, so yeah, if you did, you bought around like 670, yeah, you made some serious money right there. But yeah, that's a very bullish sign. I would suspect that this gap, short of Trump dropping a nuke on Iran, I suspect that this gap to the upside does get filled. Probably by end of week would be my guess. So depending on how the rest of the day looks, I honestly might scoop some calls to swing, targeting Friday expiration. We'll see though.
Did you say 670?
6-7.
Okay, so you can get these. Yeah, no worries. These 2.60 NEM 135 calls is a swing play for a month out. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, because NEM's down 8% today. It's kind of a lot, and it's because the metals are down. One that's also really taking a hit is M. That's another one I'm looking to possibly take calls on pretty soon here. They have earnings coming up today. I think it's after today. Yeah. So I'll probably take some calls before market closes. Actually, why don't we just take a look at calls right now? Yes, that did come in for CVS. It's because of the whole legalization of peptides. So if you're wondering why, that's why.
We, and I mean all of us, are hopping on Retta.
Let's see, April 2nd, Macy's calls. Probably target the 20. We're going a month out. I'll probably go for the, actually, to be safe, it's probably better if we go for the 19.5. Which I think at around like 0.7. Oh. Nobody has traded these in, what, 6 days? The total volume for this entire contract is 3. That's crazy. Well, I'm going to add some. 19.5 Macy's call. Macy's sitting 1809. That's for April 2nd. Remember, they have earnings today, so this is more of an earnings lotto, I suppose. The 19.5 calls are sitting around 0.70. I'm gonna see if I can get filled for 0.65. All right, not filled at 0.65. See if I can fill it for 0.68. Nope, nothing at 0.68. Okay, guess we'll go 0.70. Any more SPY, SPX, or QQQ? I'm not going to play the indexes today. I'm more just working on entering some longer term plays. Just kind of taking advantage of the dip. to fill on these Macy's calls.
Something I'm really watching toward end of day is if we close above 68.05 on the ES. A close below that is bearish, in my opinion. So whether or not I take calls for Friday is gonna depend solely on ES price right at the end of the day.
Okay, I got my Macy's call filled at 0.72. So that is going to be my entry. 0.72 for the Macy's 19.5 call for April 2nd. April 2nd at 0.72. Okay, yeah, Macy's just taking a really bad beating recently, so I think it'll have a bounce. Let's look at some other really beaten down ones. NVAX, it's down, but not down too much. We are never trading this one again. Ryotech, Rich Tech Robotics. IBRX, yeah, IBRX is, I forget who mentioned this one to me a while ago, but I said that as long as we broke that trend line resistance that we'd head to, I think I said 15 was the possibility, if I remember correctly. I think I said 15, yeah. So we're sitting at $10, broke that at $7, hit up to 12, dip here. Still head up. Let me look at some other possible dip buys. Sag, I'm staying away from that one. Those are too expensive. On semiconductor, I was actually looking at these earlier this morning because of the dip to the 50 EMA here. And last time we did touch the 50 EMA, it bounced. The problem is on call calls are really expensive. So kind of just holding off on that for now. Bull, Weeble, that continues to drop. APA is actually having a really nice day. It's integrated oil, so that should head up back to 33.50 really fast. Let me look at a few others, and then I will probably be ending the live stream. KMI was, I talked about KMI earlier. I might actually get in one of those today. So we'll see. I'd like to see us above 34 by the end of today. That would be ideal. Pen calls are obviously still green. FCell is actually coming back. It was down. It's now coming back. We'll see how that one continues to perform. For natural gas, obviously, I already took a big trim on those. XPEV is down 7% today. This was another one I was looking at. It's down 12% on the week. You know, I think this company still has potential. The XPEV's actually been down really bad recently. So I'm not going to add yet, but I think we're approaching a good potential buying opportunity here. Let's see, another big name it's down is Gap's obviously down 3% today. Kenvu's down 3.5%, and Vax is down 4%. There's some nice dip buying opportunities out there right now. Best Buy's up 7% today after its earnings. I wouldn't buy that. I'm not a big buyer of Best Buy. Trade Desk, after I talked about this on X, after its massive drop to 20 from 25, it's actually it's actually back above 25 again. So nice comeback there. Path is up 4% today. You're seeing it overall. There's a bounce in the market taking place right now, which is to be expected, right? So we'll see how we end today. If bulls can recover a good majority of this dip that took place. We're only down, obviously, a percent on the indexes now, or on at least the NASDAQ, after being down 2.7% earlier this morning. So really nice bounce so far. We're back above 600, 601, almost back to 602. So cons are still really expensive, so I'm not personally playing them, but we did break away from that opening range. It's the same strategy that we use every day, right? Opening range breakdown, we would have made money on that this morning, and then obviously the break above. So same strategy, it's always the same. Oh wow, Macy's calls are already climbing. Yeah, we'll see if the indexes can recover a good portion of this drop. Yeah, Rafael, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think I'm all good. That was a very nice SPY trade, by the way. So, like I alerted, I would take the majority off here. Just leave some runners. But yeah, I went 2 for 2 today. And then if you took my first alert this morning when I talked about buying around the 671 to 672 level, then that was a fantastic trade as well. But I didn't personally take that. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that potential SPY swing or SPX swing toward end of day.
Cool. All right. Yeah, and like I said earlier, don't go too heavy. You know, it's best to just wait. Sometimes sit cash and look for the right opportunities. Today, I think, is a good day for like buying more long-term plays, and just an overall averaging down on current positions. You know, I don't think we're going to continue down for much longer, especially if the war comes to an end pretty quick here. We'll see. The markets still can move really, erratically, considering there's constantly new developments going on in the Middle East right now. So lots of uncertainty. So don't oversize in anything. Yeah. So with that being said, thanks everyone for showing up. I will catch you all later. Have a good one.